Everybody, and welcome to another Expats Portugal webinar in association with Holborn Assets. Our guest this evening, Jason Swan from Holborn Assets, is going to update everybody on the latest news for the Golden Visa here to move to Portugal. A lot of people don't know that the Golden Visa is still available, but there is some fantastic opportunities if the Golden Visa via investment is your preferred choice. Obviously, there's a lot to get through, so I'm going to hand you over to Jason, who newlywed Jason, and we'll get the show on the road. So over to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Astrid. And yeah, good to see you again. Hopefully, I can add some value. I'm going to kind of cover a bit of an overview on, as we talked about, kind of just the route into Europe this evening, rather than focusing primarily on or solely on Portugal. Yeah, I've been away for the past month, out of action, being married on a honeymoon, so loads to bring everyone up to speed on. It is an interactive session as well, so everyone, yeah, feel free to say hello. You'll see a little chat box on your screen somewhere, maybe towards the bottom. Feel free to say hi. If there's any questions that you've got as we go through a few slides, please feel free to ask, and we'll make sure I cover off as many as we can in the time that we've got this evening. And yeah, hopefully everyone gets lots out of it, really. If it's the first time onto a Golden Visa webinar, just to introduce myself, I'm Jason Swan. I'm one of the senior partners at Holborn Assets, whom are a wealth management practice here in Europe. About 6 years back, we launched Holborn Passport, which is a service dedicated to achieve residency and citizenship in different countries around the world by way of investment. Being based in Portugal for the past 3 years now, nearly 4. Spain previously for 5 years. I'm a pretty handy guy when it comes to talking about the different visa programs to come into the EU. Also fully qualified to provide financial advice if you're looking to prepare your assets and your income and your taxes in line for moving abroad as well. And yeah, any general questions you have about what it's like to live in Spain or Portugal, I will always do my best to answer. We offer a service that is all-encompassing. So with ourselves and Expat Portugal, we hold your hand right throughout the process up until helping you find a suitable investment for your chosen Golden Visa program. We look after all the administration that's involved. We'll set up the tax numbers that are required. We'll apply for your bank account. We liaise with the tax offices, with the biometrics, with the investment managers. Everything that you need to do is looked after by myself and my team here as well. Feel free to check us out online. Please type my name into Google. Have a look at some of the previous webinars that we've hosted as well, previously with myself and Astrid. And again, any questions that you have, feel free to reach out and we'll do our best to answer. So the focus this evening is different programs. We're going to focus on the EU Golden Visa programs. You know, does Portugal still have the best program? It has been the top choice for the past 12 years now, but is it still the most popular? So we're going to come on to the EU one in particular this evening, including Malta, what the Malta Golden Visa program has to offer, the Greece program, and also Spain as well, right next door. Internationally, there are different citizenship programs, not for this evening's presentation, but if you have queries on any other citizenship or residency programs outside of Europe, again, give us a shout. Happy to send over some bedtime reading for you to do some research. So let's jump in. So the 4 most popular Golden Visa programs in Europe right now is Malta, Portugal, Greece, and Spain. Portugal has been the #1 for, well, pretty much ever since it was launched back in 2012. There's now been over 13,000 applications submitted for Portugal, but of course the rules keep changing and the requirements keep changing, and there's new countries that have launched Golden Visa programs. There's pros and cons to different programs to get involved with, and really just wanted to do a bit of an x-ray to help everyone decide if Portugal is the best route for them, or if there's a better way into Europe or elsewhere for that matter. So let's start at the top. So first of all, Malta and Portugal are the only countries in Europe where you can get a passport without becoming tax resident in a new country. It's only those two. If you want to get a European passport, but you don't want to move to Malta and you don't want to move to Portugal full time, there is no minimum stay at all to get the passport through Malta. And through Portugal, it's only 2 weeks every 2 years, 5 weeks every 5 years, however you want to look at it. But you just need to come to holiday. You don't need to change your tax residency. You don't need to be in Portugal for over 6 months of the year. And it has a very fast time to citizenship of just 5 years. Some more updates on processing time shortly. You can get a passport through Malta in just 14 months if you wish, but the investment required for Malta, well, the donation required for Malta is €750,000 to do that, plus fees as well. So unless you are desperately in a need to get a passport in just 14 months, Portugal is the fastest option with the lowest investment requirement as well. Greece and Spain. So Spain is a similar program. Spain is again, there's no minimum stay in Spain if you want to simply get a visa to live there. But if you want to get a passport and have access to all of Europe through Spain, you do need to live and be tax resident in Spain for at least 183 days every year for 10 years. So one of the questions to ask yourself, first of all, is yeah, do you want to get a passport, or do you want to just live in one of these countries? Not all of them offer a route to citizenship. All the considerations, including family, again, if it's just yourself or whether you'd like to include children. Again, Portugal and Greece and Malta are flexible to include children up to age 21. Spain is restricted for children up to a maximum of 18. You can include children older than 21 through Portugal and Greece, as long as we can prove dependency. But Spain, like I say, Spain is pretty strict at a maximum of 18 years. We can add parents, should we so wish. Again, maximum age for Spain, parents can only be up to 65. Sorry, above 65. More flexibility through the other 3 programs. Processing time to residency through Portugal at the moment, in light of the news last month and the special task force now assigned to clear all pending applications by the 2nd of June 2025, an accurate time frame now for new applications is 9 to 12 months. Okay, but not quite as fast as Greece or Spain. It still will be the longest duration to get residency, but it's certainly a lot faster now than what it has been over recent years. With the Portugal, Greece and Spain program, you get visa-free access to countries globally. Certainly for us kind of first world passport holders like the UK, and for the US, we kind of get that benefit already, but for some nationalities on the call, to have visa-free travel to over 180 countries may be a big plus, and that applies across the board, again, other than Malta. And language tests required in all of the countries other than Malta. But the family benefits from education in Europe, regardless of the program. You also have the option to work in any of the programs, and you also have access to European healthcare for the family as well. So the benefits are very similar. The main discrepancy is, if you want to get a passport and what your budget is for an investment, which I think we might have skipped over, apologies. So for Portugal, to make an investment, the minimum is €500,000. You can make a donation from 250,000 if you're feeling generous. For Greece, the minimum investment is 250, and Spain is 500,000 as well. Through Greece and Spain, you can still purchase property as well. Through Portugal, you have the option to invest into a list of investment funds, or the option to set up a business, or to invest into the share capital of an existing Portuguese company, but property investment is no longer admissible for the Golden Visa program. But those really the key differences, and really to kind of decide. And again, we'll kind of talk through this, in a consultation. But the questions I'll be asking you is first of all, what is your plan? Do you want to get a passport for Europe, or do you simply want to live in a new country? Then we can start to rule out some of these options to kind of map out the best way forward. Do you want to become tax resident? Again, you may not want to commit to a new country for over 6 months of the year. You may not want to become tax resident. So again, what flexibility do we need to get the passport or the residency without a minimum stay? The budget for the investment is important as well. It varies from 250 upwards. And again, yeah, is it a country that you're looking to move to, or simply get the passport? All key questions to ask. All making sense so far, Astrid? Is that my covering okay there?
I think that's great. It's a good overview. So definitely.
Super. So before we just go into the Portugal program, so to answer the question, all things considered, there is a unique benefit to each of the programs, but Portugal generally will win in most scenarios. Portugal does remain to be the most popular route to Europe. The program is not set to change anytime soon. The Spanish program is expected to finish in January. There's a further update on that change in law earlier today. But we expect the Spanish Golden Visa program to no longer accept new applications as of January 2025. If that is the route that you wish to take, my advice is to get in touch as soon as possible. We still do have a window of opportunity for Spain, but that window is going to close very soon. The Greece program, again, is not going anywhere. The Malta program is to remain as well. But yeah, first question, do you want to get a passport? And second question, do you want to become tax resident in a new country? The majority of points, looking at the Golden Visa program, it's designed that you don't have to move. If you are becoming resident in Portugal, there are other visa options that require you to stay at least 6 months of the year. But if you don't want that commitment, if you just want to have a holiday in Portugal and know you're going to get a passport in 5 years' time, then yeah, Portugal and Malta are the only programs that will allow you to do that without moving full time. So those are the key points. Any questions on those, drop them in. I know it's a very quick overview. I'm trying to cover a lot in the time that we've got, but again, any questions on that, please ask. And focusing on Portugal briefly, I'm going to just go a recap, of course, with the Expats Portugal channel. It would be a real sense to do anything other. But for those that are just starting their journey of the venture into the Golden Visa program, it's something that's been around now since 2012, and it's a 2-year visa. It's a VIP pass to live in Portugal or work in Portugal or retire to Portugal. You can renew the visa every 2 years. After 5 years have passed, you can apply for a passport. And once you have the passport, you can then live in any European country as well. So you can head over to Spain at that point, or to Malta, or Italy, or Germany, or wherever you see fit. But yeah, it remains to be the most popular, and I expect it to be so for some time. If you are a Golden Visa holder, you have access to all the benefits of being a Portuguese citizen. That includes access to healthcare, especially those from the States that are on at the moment. One of the most common complaints I suppose I have about the US is that the cost of healthcare can be very high. So some clients looking at the EU for that reason and that reason alone. We also have access to education system in Europe, both for yourself and your family as well. May not be something for yourself personally, but again, thinking about that freedom to travel and study in Europe may be an important factor for children. There are many tax incentives for different countries. Portugal's tax incentives have changed at the end of last year. The NHR program 1.0 did close. There is a new tax incentive now for those that are still working as well, certainly high earning incomes as well. Again, any questions on the tax situation in any of the countries, please ask, and I'll fire over the tax guide to have a look at. But all in all, yeah, of course, you get to live in Portugal. I'm a little bit biased, Astrid, as I'm sure you might be, seeing as I live in Portugal, but I think it's the best place in the world.
We've both been here long enough now to know that it's a good place to be. So how long have you been here now for, Jason?
For 3 years now.
3 years? Well, I've been 13, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. So your Portuguese is going to be a lot better than mine. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm pretty. I'm average. Well, I'm below average.
Well,
I can get by, but definitely not conversational.
yeah, okay. It sounds like you're a few steps ahead of me, unfortunately. But I'm going to have to do my language test before the passport. So I've got a couple of years to kind of do that
Yes.
course.
Yes. Well, you know that
Um,
because I married a Portuguese man, I am exempt from the Portuguese
no,
test.
okay, so that's the trick.
Yes. Yes.
I
That's the
made a
trick. You can
mistake.
fast track.
Unfortunately, my new wife is English. I should have chosen someone that was Portuguese. But yeah, I mean, Portugal is a great place, and of course, without all the all the incentives that we've gone through, living in Portugal, whether it be down in the south with me, or in the capital with Astrid in Lisbon, or up towards north in Porto or inland, it is an overall great place to live. You got 300 days of sunshine every year, slightly warmer in the south, a lot more to do in the capital, and very easily accessible with the international airport as well. So
I,
yeah, if you
I, for me, it's the safety of this country, Jason. I really like, I've got two teenage girls, and I just find that their social life and their friends are just, so safe. So no, they don't have necessarily bad influences in their life, and the drinking alcohol is not a big thing here for the younger generation, and they don't sort of go out to drink to get drunk and all those different things, and they can Uber it later at night without any
Mhm.
concerns. They can walk down the
Yeah,
street, go to parties, and it's a very safe environment. So I think that's really, really important for me.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think Portugal is a fish has one of the lowest crime rates in the world.
Yes.
And yeah, 100%. And I think like most countries, there's nicer areas than others, but as a whole, yeah, the crime rate is very low in Portugal, and certainly where I am and you're arrested, yeah, I think you'd be confident enough to leave your front door open and
Sure, sure.
not have to
Well,
worry of.
there is crime here, but it's non-violent crime. So it might be a robbery or something like that, but it's not like people are getting killed to be robbed, and there's no, yeah, non-violent crime does exist here, but
Yeah.
it's a safe place otherwise.
Well, I think compared to, I mean, I was in Spain for 5 years in Malaga before Portugal, and they're both very similar countries, but I just love Portugal. I don't know why. Can't put my finger on it, but it feels a lot more homely. I think Portuguese are a lot more welcoming as well of
Yeah,
English
yeah,
speakers. I think that makes
definitely.
makes a big part.
Yeah.
Portuguese study English in school, I believe, as well. So
That also
that's
helps, and I think, but that's a downside. That's probably why after 13 years, my Portuguese is only average, is because it's too easy to get by without it. So,
yeah,
not
that's
to say,
probably
not that I'm going to encourage anyone to do that. I'm just not a language learner. The amount of hours I've put into learning the language, and my Portuguese husband and two girls go to Portuguese school, and I'm still lousy. So, yeah, it's just me.
Yeah, well, I mean, for those that are listening, Astrid, they won't, well, certainly if they want to get a passport, they won't have a choice to learn Portuguese unless they're going to marry a Portuguese man like
Yes, yes,
yourself.
that's the way around.
Um,
Yeah.
that's one little tip and trick there. But in the main, yeah, you'll be having to study. And there's two ways to do that. You can pass an exam, kind of an A2 level Portuguese exam, and they can do that at any test center, either at home or online, which is kind of the equivalent of kind of age 16 high school kind of level, if you like. But also now there is the option to evidence a minimum amount of study time rather than the pressure of passing an exam as well,
Yes.
which is a little bit more costly, but yeah, might be a backup option for those that are struggling to pass a test. But yeah, loads to look forward to. Like I said, any questions on living in Portugal, check out the Expats Portugal website. Loads of brilliant articles and content to surf through. And of course, any questions on the visa front or the money side, feel free to get in touch.
Sure.
Um, and then we've got the 5 categories for the Golden Visa. These apply to most EU countries. The difference with Portugal is that, yeah, property investment is no longer permissible to get the visa. That changed at the end of 2023. Now everyone has the option to set up a business if they wish, as long as you create 10 jobs. It's not something that you would do just to get the visa, but if you have plans to expand your company and open up a new office perhaps in Portugal, the added benefit may be to get the golden visa as well. You can make donations if you're feeling generous at 250 or 500,000. And the vast majority of applications, I would say around 95%, are going into some form of investment fund or venture capital fund that must meet a certain criteria, which I'm happy to talk through on a one-to-one basis, but you can choose from many different investment funds with different fund managers within Portugal. Or you can invest into the share capital of a Portuguese business, again, on the basis that there's going to be some job creation on the back of that. So minimum investment, 500,000, minimum donation, 250,000. The Spanish program, again, whilst it's still open, you can still buy property at 500,000 and upwards. Like Greece, you can still buy property as well. And again, Malta, again, you can buy property, but it's that initial sticky point of needing the best part of €1 million by way of a donation. So if you want to get the passport, that is, the residency is not the same. A residency through Malta is only 130,000 if you want to live in Malta. But if you want to get a passport, it's a slightly different story. But that's Portugal. Again, any questions on these slides, just drop in the Q&A or I'll send an email to follow up. As of right now, they're still up to date. Yep, we're still okay. So after coming back to the minimum capital, so if you want to make a donation, a minimum of 250,000, or as I say, an investment is 500,000. However, as of today's date, there is a way of, instead of giving away 250,000, if that is your preference, or if you're looking to get the visa with minimum capital, there is a way that you can pay just 168,000 now, rather than the 250, which is basically a finance agreement of 500,000. So you can use somebody else's money of 500,000 and you pay them the interest instead of the other way around. There is also an investment currently available where you get an upfront return as well. So rather than 500,000 being invested and then having an annual interest, you actually get 6 years return paid upfront. Whereas you can actually use that return towards the 500,000. So you actually need much less of your own capital, but you can still make an investment and meet the criteria at 500,000. So some just key thresholds there. As far as who can apply for the Golden Visa, as long as you don't already have an EU passport, you have a clean criminal record, you make an eligible investment or donation, and you stay in Portugal for 14 days every 2 years, you will get a visa. There's no other requirements, there's no other restrictions. And again, if you want to convert that visa into a passport after 5 years, you just need to add to that list, keeping a clean criminal record and learning Portuguese. As long as you do those two things, you'll be in the clear for a European passport. Piece of cake. As far as family, we've covered on this briefly, but you can include parents up to the age of 65 over the age of 65 are automatically assumed as dependents. They can be included on the same application and on the same investment. If they're younger than 65, they may still be included if we can prove dependency. Children can be included up to the age of 21. Again, if they're older than 21, we just need to show some evidence of being enrolled into further education to prove dependency. And we can also change who is the main applicant. So quite often, we may add a parent as the main applicant with you as the child, for example, or you get the idea of put children as the main applicants, but you as their dependent. Get as many people on the application as we can. The most people who've got on one single application, I think, was 13 earlier this year. We had parents and step-parents and stepchildren. As long as everyone meets that criteria, you can include as many family members as you like. Everyone gets the visa and everyone gets the passport as well. There you go. That's who can be included. The process, just as a quick recap, don't worry too much about this very busy slide. There is, of course, a lot of work involved between starting the process and getting a passport. But this is where we come in. You have myself and you have my team that facilitate all the moving pieces and people involved. All starts once you've selected your investment, and we then will apply for your tax numbers in Portugal. We'll also start to set up your bank account in Portugal. We'll assign a recommended law firm to complete the legal work as well. And we will liaise and manage those different parties. We'll help collect the documents that are needed for your application. You'll be updated throughout the process. You'll have lots of people on hand for any questions. And once the documents are together, the bank account's ready, you'll transfer the funds to your new Portuguese bank account, and then we'll submit your application to AMA. And that is when the 5-year clock begins. And for any confusion on that matter, that has been a piece of law that has been debated somewhat this year. But the 5-year clock officially begins from when you submit your visa application. And previously it was from when you received the visa. So it was actually much longer than 5 years before you could apply. So that's good news. And other than that, we'll have the biometrics appointment. That's the first time at which you need to physically come to Portugal, which is when you'll come over to do your fingerprints and your photograph. Again, we will accompany you on the day to try and keep you entertained in what is a pretty soul-destroying day at the AMA offices, queuing up and waiting for your appointment. But yeah, we'll see that through, and then we'll look forward to receiving the visa, which looks a little bit like this one here. Piece of cake. And again, as a quick recap, based on current timeframes, we're expecting 9 to 12 months start to finish for receipt of the visa. The 2nd of June next year, the government will be fully up to date on all pending applications. All the backlog will be up to date by the 2nd of June 2025. The new applications now, we're expecting 9 to 12 months, hopefully closer to 6 months, but 9 to 12 months is a good gauge. And that's it. That's it. Job is done. Once we've got, like I say, keep the clean criminal record, learn a bit of Portuguese. 5 years' time, we will apply for the passport. The country has a 97% success rate from visa to passport. And just be mindful to maintain the qualifying investment. Keep the clean criminal record, learn some Portuguese, and don't forget to come to Portugal, which is the worst part. It's the worst part of the deal. You've got to come to Portugal. You've got to go and check out the beaches for at least 2 weeks every 2 years, and you'll be good to go. You can even come and see me for a week, and you can come and see Astrid for a week, if you prefer that type of thing instead of going to the beach. But as long as you have 2 weeks, you're good to go. So other than that, I hope that all makes sense to everyone. Again, any questions, drop them in as we go. I'm covering everything pretty rapid fire. I'll cover a couple of slides just to finish up, and then we'll open up for some questions. Again, obviously, we've had a big day in the US yesterday with the elections. The US market equates about 80, maybe 90% of those applying to the Golden Visa program over the past couple of years. And if you are investing as an American, you may be interested to explore how to fund the investment and whether or not you wish to utilize retirement accounts as an alternative to making withdrawals from retirement accounts. Whereas the tax payable for a withdrawal or any early withdrawal penalties will not be applicable. If you do want to find out more information on that topic, please ask, and I'll introduce you to a US attorney who can provide some advice on that topic. But that's something that's come up quite often of late. And lastly, a bit of a snapshot on the type of investments that are out there. So if you do go, if you're not in the category of wanting to give money away with a donation, and you don't fancy the idea of setting up a business and employing staff, you have a number of different investment funds within Portugal to choose from. There are many different fund managers. There are many different funds of different shapes and sizes, different risk appetite, different returns, different reputations, different past records, different levels of security, different, there are lots. I say lots, there's kind of 25. It's a good choice. Obviously, in the world of investment funds, there are thousands, but those that meet the criteria to get the Golden Visa are restricted at about 25 to 30 at the moment. You can choose any of those funds. We'll obviously we'll make sure that it is going to meet the criteria, and then we'll submit the application for you. We're also happy to introduce you to some reputable fund managers as well as part of our service. And yeah, like I say, they can range in all different shapes and sizes, but once we speak on a one-to-one basis, we can actually show you the fund directory. We can look at the key facts of the different funds, and then you can choose which one you think is the best one for you. And then we'll get you on your way to Portugal as soon as we can. But that is all. Super quick crash course in 31 minutes. Not too bad for me. Normally I do go on a little bit, but hopefully that was helpful. For any questions that I have missed, please feel free to get in touch. You can scan the QR code if you wish to access my diary for a private discussion or go into any more detail on any of the topics that we've covered this evening. But yeah, thank you for that, Astrid. Is there anything you'd like to add on the back of that before we finish up?
I think that you've answered all the questions. The chat's a little bit quiet, but maybe it's because you've been so generous with your information and your knowledge. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Great. Well, other than that, I think there'll be a recording of the webinar with Astrid.
Yes. Well, if you want to watch this again, if anyone out there that they want to see Jason's presentation again, you'll be able to visit our YouTube channel next week, and the content will be available then.
Super. Alrighty. Well, I suppose, as we say in England, Astrid, it's time for some
Right.
tea.
Okay.
'Cause I'm hungry.
Thank you.
But thanks for joining, and
Bye,
yeah, thanks for having me. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye now.